All right, good morning, everyone. Today is Wednesday, February 17th, 2021, and we have a fair amount of news to cover, actually, which is pretty good. So let's get right into it. So, first off, let me just get it over with. Biden's town hall last night on CNN. Not sure if you guys watched it. It was a disaster. Let's put it that way. And I'm not saying that because, you might say, Dave, you don't like Biden or what have you. It's not about that. It's not even about the gaffes. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. It was specifically about a lot of different things that he dodged to answer. Now, when we look at, for example, the question about China's human rights issues that was asked by CNN, I believe Jake Tapper, to Joe Biden, it was such a CCP type of response. Not a Chinese response, because I have a lot of respect for the Chinese people, but CCP saying it was something along the lines of, oh, well, we have cultural differences. So slaughtering Uyghurs, finally I think I pronounced that right thanks to a certain friend of mine, and you know who you are, thank you. So slaughtering Uyghurs is okay. Just randomly, even Christians, and then harvesting the organs and no one knows what the hell they're doing or where they're going for maybe super soldier experiments, God knows. No, that's it? Just cultural differences? Okay. That's all. That was the most shocking thing. And I get it. If you're going to have a response that's, classified or you can't talk, just say, listen, I'm not going to touch on the subject, but we're working on it. He didn't even say that. It was just, we got cultural like, what the hell? Okay, fine. But I'm not letting that one slide. But it's like, what the hell? You know what I mean? So anyways, the next thing is that it has been officially confirmed by multiple news outlets that India's COVID cases are dropping dramatically without any explanation, at least right now. Herd immunity? I'm going to be very careful saying this, but some of it was fake based on mass hysteria. I'm not trying to say that that's what it is. I'm just trying to lay out the options, and I got to be careful because of YouTube. But I don't know. It's hard for me to say. Maybe you guys have a better idea, but I'm not saying herd immunity works. I'm not a doctor by any stretch of the imagination, but when they're dropping without any significant explanation, I'm not sure. I'm not really sure, right? The next thing is that Trump called McConnell a dour, political, unsmiling hack, if I phrase that correctly. Whatever. Look, at the end of the day, I'm not trying to say to brush it off. It doesn't look good. McConnell did vote to acquit him, but then he gave that speech after, which was like the total opposite. Now, McConnell's argument was that he acquitted Trump because procedurally and constitutionally, it wouldn't make sense to impeach a former president. Look, depending on what stance you take, you can't deny McConnell's towing the line, and it's a smart thing to do politically. But morally and ethically, no shot. So it depends where you stand. It's not for me to tell you guys what to think. It depends where you stand on that, right? So it's for my job just to report. And like I said, if I give my opinion, I'll let you know, as I always do. The next thing is that Mark Zuckerberg recently took an anti-vaccine stance in a leaked video, which is against Facebook rules, ironically enough. I don't know if it was Project Veritas that released this video. I'm not sure. Because I know they've been taking a lot of heat lately, even though they did appear on the Tim Pool podcast yesterday. James O'Keefe, the owner of Project Veritas. Veritas means truth, for those who don't know the translation. But long story short, it's a leaked video of Mark Zuckerberg from last year. I believe mid to late last year. So at that point, we knew enough about the virus as a society as a whole. He was questioning the efficiency and the efficacy of the vaccine. That in itself was like, oof. And meanwhile, anyone who questions it on Facebook, you put a fake news banner over top of their thing, or you do a fact check. You fact check using Snopes, right? If we look at Snopes.com, who runs Snopes.com? Very far left, two far left gentlemen. And I'm not saying, even if they were far right, I would say that as well, by the way. We got to be consistent. That's my whole point. If they were far right, I would say, listen, far right, not good, far left, not good. They got to not be politically objective. But guess what? The owners of Snopes, the mainstream media's most number one god for fact checking. But, you know what I mean? So, anyways, It's just the hypocrisy is ridiculous. I know the argument that the left will give is, Zuckerberg is allowed to have a stance, which he is, yes, because he's an individual. And the reason why we don't want this coming onto Facebook is because, it'll spread fake news and people will start saying, oh, look, see, because one random guy got some prediction right, all of a sudden it means everything. No, it's free speech, plain and simple. I know this might not be a popular stance, but for me personally, you got to be able to discern through the disinformation yourself, because disinformation in theory is part of free speech. In theory. I'm not saying I like disinformation. I'm just saying, right? That's the thing. There's no legit law against disinformation because in America, at least, hate speech is covered under free speech. That's debatable. But when it goes that far, disinformation is obviously covered in there too, right? The next thing is that Myanmar's coup is failing due to massive protests where the people are saying they don't want the coup, which is contradictory because the military said, oh, the people of Myanmar totally want this coup. The people spoke. The people spoke. Now, what's interesting about all this is that it's, in my opinion, personally, this, again, I tell you guys when my opinion comes into play, I think this is representative of a lot of what's going on in the world right now in terms of the Navalny protests, the Myanmar protests. People are standing up in unison, maybe because they're tired of COVID. They're tired of staying inside. Maybe because they're just fed up overall. Maybe because COVID has helped them realize a lot of things that they thought were real that turned out to be fake. Maybe people are fed up saying, listen, we're being exploited for this nonsense. And so any other issue that comes up, not having to do with COVID, nothing to do with it, they get emotional and angry at that. I don't know, but here's what I do know. When the people come together to express their general perspective and opinions, just like the thing with GameStop, they win in the long run, usually. And I know you might say, Dave, that's a bit of an optimistic perspective. I get that. But if we don't have an optimistic perspective, then what do we have? You see what I'm saying? So we look at the GameStop thing where the little guy teamed up to fight against the big guy. Right, or all the little sharks or little fishes came together to fight the shark. We saw that again with Navalny. We saw that again in the United States in a lot of different ways. We saw that now in Myanmar. We see that now in Israel with people saying they want Netanyahu out. We see that happening all over the world. So it's interesting to see what will happen there. But let's take a look at what's next. So the next thing is that COVID vaccines finally entered Gaza after Israel held them up. Now, I reported yesterday, well, not me, but I reported from another source that Israel was holding up the Sputnik V vaccine that Russia sent to Gaza. Again, I don't know the politics behind that, especially the under-the-table politics, which is the real chess game, if you want to call it. So I don't want to comment on it with my opinion. But I think ultimately, look, I mean, it's debatable. Some people are saying the vaccine's no good. Other people are saying it's not even real. Other people are saying Russia's vaccine is not as effective. It's been shown to be. I mean, Russia's always been known to do their own thing. So clearly, they got the right people at hand to take care of what they have to do. I'm not defending Russia, but at the same time, when we look at, their shipments are being stopped from going into Gaza, I don't know. I don't know why that would be the case, but it seems that letting them through, maybe there was some sort of stand down or something like this politically, not militarily or physically, but politically. The next thing is that the U.S. just recently sold $200 million worth of weapons to Egypt. Now, I want to make this very clear. The sale of the weapons to Egypt is some people are saying it was Biden's approval. Other people are saying that this was a Trump thing, but it's just, the deal finally finished now just because it takes time. I mean, $200 million worth of weapons for the military is not a joke, right? So when we look at all of that, we have to say to ourselves, I mean, do we really care? If these other countries get these weapons, not only that, but again, we have to be consistent. Because if Biden was criticizing Trump for this, but then Biden let this happen when he could have stopped it, which I don't know to be a fact. I'm just saying let's be consistent on both sides. If he could have stopped it, then clearly there's a hypocrisy. However, if this is something that he couldn't stop because, Trump pushed it through before he left and the deal's just finishing up, then so be it. Okay? It's not going to make or break the country. I know that overseas people are like, oh my gosh, especially in the Middle East, this and that. But look, you ever notice that the mainstream media never reports the fact that when the U.S. economy is not doing well and the government just needs more money and they're not bringing in enough, they just sell a bunch of weapons to other countries, military weapons? It's not that hard. Countries always want the weapons of the U.S. It's true, right? So it's like, okay, you want these weapons? Okay, 50 million, 100 million, whatever. You name the price. right? And so that's how it always goes. And so ultimately, there's hypocrisy on both sides. But when we look at all of this and we take a step back, we have to say, okay, people always complain about money, but what the mainstream media doesn't talk about, or the politicians always complain about, my particular state is in a deficit, or the federal government's not doing well, or this or that. But what they don't tell you is, yeah, when we're not doing well, by the way, we just send over a few $100 million worth of weapons to whatever country that wants it, right? The next thing is that the Kim Jong Un's wife appeared in public for the first time in over a year. Look, everything about that country is shady. I'm just going to say it right here and right now. Obviously, everyone knows that. They got no internet there, at least for the public, the people. I imagine Kim Jong Un has internet access. I'd imagine a guy like that would love the internet, so I don't. And when you might say, okay, Dave, when you say a guy like that, what do you mean? Well, younger guy, I believe he's in his 30s. I mean, he's power hungry. He wants to see what's going on in the world. He's got his intelligence people. I don't know how organized it is relative to other countries. I'm not sure how North Korea's intelligence even works, to be honest with you guys, simply because when we take a look at, the rest of the world, I guess they send out their agents to like overseas, with fake passports and stuff, but I'm sure counterintelligence agencies are watching that too. But my point is that his wife made her first appearance in over a year. Okay, I mean, there's no free media there. It's all state run, so I mean, excuse me, I don't know what people are like, oh my gosh, about. She's alive, she's fine. So, the next thing is that if we take a look here, armed men stormed the Nigerian school and abducted 27 students. I don't know the reasoning behind this. I know Al Jazeera, BBC reported on this, as well as many others. I think The Guardian, if I'm not mistaken. Look, it's unfortunate, man. Any type of kidnapping for any reason, whether it's for the children or to try to make a point to certain, political or tribal groups in the area or something like that, it's all a mess. It's very sadly a chess game. We kidnap these kids, you give us what we want, we bring the kids back. It's the same old game. Humans are not going to change in that regard. Negotiation in that regard will not change. And it's not even humans. We can talk about that universally. It's just exchange of something. You give me this, I give you that. But you're forcing someone, you're extorting someone in a lot of ways by doing it this way, right? Because you're forcing them to make this exchange. Because if they want those kids back, they got to give them what they want. Now, I don't know the scenario. I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just saying, human behavior like that has always been like that. So the next thing is that Japan and U.S. extended their agreements on military base payments. Good. Okay. I mean, the U.S. has always gotten along with Japan pretty well post-World War II. So, yeah, I guess. The next thing is that NASA's Mars rover is on track for a bullseye landing on Mars, meaning, they're going to land it exactly where they wanted it and where they planned it to go. Perfect. Good. That's awesome. Great to see. It's very clear that the space race is heating up, but I mean, honestly, compared to what's going on the back end relative to that of the front end, what a joke. I mean, I'm not trying to discredit the people that are sending the rover there. I know it's very hard work, so please don't misunderstand me, but it's like you take a step back and you look at what we talk about in the afternoon episodes compared to, what they're doing here publicly. Oh, we're just sending the rover. Like, really? Like, So, again, it's just, and even the technology on the rover is not even like super advanced with the tech that they truly have, right? So that's another thing as well. The next thing is that Harry and Meghan Markle are going to be interviewed by Oprah, I guess because Meghan's pregnant with their second child. I don't care. Now, that's just me. I don't know about you guys. There's way more things to discuss and to focus on than that. People are going to watch. A lot of people like Meghan Markle. I got nothing against them, by the way. I actually have more respect for Harry that he left the royal family, so to speak. Maybe, obviously, no one knows the details. I'm sure he wasn't happy with his mother and all that, with the queen and what have you. But, I mean, look, or his grandma. Is the queen Harry's mother or grandmother? I don't remember. But anyways, the point, though, is that I get it. They're going to do it for the ratings, and a lot of people are going to like it, but we got bigger fish to fry, right? I'm reporting it just because I've seen it everywhere on every mainstream media thing. Look, I'm very happy they have another kid, but it doesn't change anything. It's like, I personally, and this is my opinion, the royal family, it's not needed. I know there's traditional respect. I get that. It's the culture. I get that. But there's a lot of things like their royal duties and stuff. Like, what the hell is that? I mean, that's just my opinion, but Again, you can disagree with me, and I totally get that. But anyways, the next thing is that Prime Minister Boris Johnson said he's going to begin focusing on data and stop setting dates as it pertains to things like the lockdowns and all of that. Again, it has to do with the people in the country there. If it was up to me, honestly, listen to the people. If the people are willing, assuming COVID is real, and I got to say that for YouTube, as you guys know, if the people are okay with it, with going outside and risking it and not wearing masks, let them do that. And I know the whole thing is like, yeah, but you don't realize how many people are going to die. Look, it's been a year now of the lockdowns on and off, right? More so on than off, obviously. The summer things eased up, but, you know. If I would leave it strictly up to the people. I would say, listen, here's the science. Decide for yourselves. And then you guys decide what you want to do. But just know, if the virus is real, you're going to get really sick. And if it's not, then guess what? You're going to turn out to be right, and things are going to look better on you. That's what I would do. Maybe that's an oversimplification, and, you know, the responsibility or the duty of the government, and people are going to say, well, you shouldn't always leave it up to society because society's stupid. I don't agree with that. I think the people are smart. I think there's valid opinions to both sides. Whether people think it's, you know, certain ideas are, you know, very unnecessary or not, or stupid, quote unquote. I think the people should decide. That's just me, though. That's just me, right? And the final thing is, let me see here if I missed something. The storm. The final thing is the storm all across the West. If you're in Canada or the U.S., the snow's very bad. I think something like 25, 30 people have passed away, literally died from it because they didn't have power and they froze to death. I would imagine it's more so the seniors where they're not able to move as much and they're stuck with no heating in their home or something like this. I would imagine younger people are a little bit better at improvising just because physically obviously they have more energy. They're just younger, right? They're more full of life. So it's so sad to see that, man. I do have to say, though, to be consistent, I do have to say, when Ted Cruz and Governor Greg Abbott of Texas, Senator and Governor of Texas, when they called for a state of emergency, I got to call a spade, guys. When they called for a state of emergency, Biden signed it right away and gave them all the help they needed federally. Now, if I'm missing something, please tell me in the comments if I'm wrong. But from what I've read, if assuming this is what Biden did, we got to call it as it is, right? We got to be consistent on both sides. So that's it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys later on this afternoon. Cheers.